Western Cape commuters are feeling like things are back to normal after the taxi strike ended. In fact, a provincial transport task team is to be formed to deal with remaining issues. Now, the Santaco stairway caused major disruption for commuters, claiming at least 5 lives. Seeing as well a number of buses torched and came with sporadic looting and violence. We are now joined by political and social commentator Tebogo Khaas to weigh in on the matter. Tebogo, let's just talk about the economical impact of the last almost 10 days or so of the stairway, both from the commuters' perspective, but as well as the taxi operators and the other operators within that value chain, because all of that activity was halted, disrupted, at least for a period of 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, we as South Africans never cease to amaze. This is an own goal by Santaco and those behind the mayhem that ensued within the metro of Cape Town. I call it mayhem because, protests by nature, yes, are disruptive, but you cannot be involved in protests that end up claiming the lives of 5 people, and you accept a proposal that was given to you 24 hours after you went on a strike, and you want to assume that everything must go back to normal. Those families of 5 deceased must just take life as usual. And we as South Africans must come to accept that is how things ought to be. It shouldn't be. It is normal. It is not normal. It is abnormal. And I'm just talking about lives here. Now you talk about the inconveniences, the lost earnings, the livelihoods. God knows how many people got attacked or even raped, or because they didn't have transport, they had to walk within that distance, got robbed and all this. And all as a direct result of people who seemingly only have their self-interest at heart. And I want to talk about people who've got their self-interest. I'm talking about the operators themselves, because we know full well that they don't even have the interest of their drivers at heart. If you look at how much they pay their drivers and the pressure in which they put these drivers under, the drivers are now left on their own devices to make sure that they bring the kind of takings that the operators expect of them, because they give them targets. Let's say I don't care how it takes or what it takes, but I need you to give me 3,000 rands as an arbitrary number per day. Whether you're going to go through traffic lights, whether you're going to drive on pavements to dodge traffic to try and make sure that you get another extra load to make the target, that is exactly what is likely behind this type of thing. In fact, not likely, contributory factor, including the fact that operating unroaded vehicles and being able to think that is a normal thing. It shouldn't be, especially if you care about your commuters, you care about the road users. And it has exacted not only a price in terms of the economy of the city and the province of Western Cape, but also in terms of human life. And generally, that's not how you resolve issues. And we need a level of sophistication of sort, because if you've got a dispute or you disagree on a citation, we're a country of law and of a rule of law. You go to the courts to adjudicate such matters, not to block streets, bend down buses and other vehicles just because you're not getting things your way.
In fact, I want to talk a bit more on that point, Tebogo. We did hear from the Minister of Transport just basically lambasting, if you will, the mayoral's office in Cape Town, saying that it's unlawful, the impounding of taxi. But you have the conversation with the mayor's office and you understand where they're coming from. The protection of the commuter, meaning the vehicles that they are commuting in need to be roadworthy. The drivers who are operating these vehicles need to be licensed, etc., etc. So if those bylaws are not looked at with more scrutiny, then you have a problem and you are putting the commuters in danger. So where do we find the middle ground, would you say, just in your assessment?
There is a middle ground, and the middle ground is called the National Transport Act, and the bylaws that are enacted by the city or any municipality in line or in accordance with the provisions of the Act. And for as long as those bylaws are reasonable or are lawful, and they are devised in accordance with the laws. That is the middle ground. That's why we must all coalesce. That's why we must all go. We shouldn't aspire for a dual moral and legal legal universe where we've got one set of laws that only affects the taxi industry, and the rest of communities must follow a different set of law. In other words, we've got taxi drivers who are a law unto themselves, or the operators who think they are a law unto themselves. That is the middle ground. The middle ground is the rule of law. The middle ground is ensuring that we all seek to pursue things in a lawful manner, or conduct business in a lawful manner, and adhere to all the prescripts within the industry or sectors that we operate from. That is the middle ground. The only middle ground is a constitution. And if we disagree, we must go to that middle ground to adjudicate our disagreements and make sure that we can then have somebody impartial be able to give a verdict that will talk to the interpretation of the constitutions of the laws that govern us. The middle ground is being able to appreciate the fact that you're causing a death of other people. It is uncalled for, especially in circumstances where those people are innocent. They've got nothing to do with the bylaws that were passed or the laws that are passed, and you make them suffer the consequences. The middle ground is ensuring that you respect other people's property. You ensure that you don't burn buses of other people, or you don't plunder resources belonging or assets belonging to other entities or individuals, and make sure that you live and let live. It can't be that it's my way or the highway, or if things don't work the way I want them, then everybody else will have to suffer the consequences. It's okay to protest. Go slow down. Down your tools. It's okay, but not to the extent that they did. And as you can see, the city of Cape Town did everything by the letter of the law. There is nothing to fault. And to have even the National Minister of Transport making the kind of pronouncement that they did, that the city must release the impounded vehicles, under what would she have that authority to instruct a municipality to do as she pleases? Just because taxi drivers can get away with lawlessness in other parts of the country doesn't mean that everywhere they should turn a blind eye and let them do that. Because you just have to see how taxi drivers operate, even in instances where they are allocated spaces to operate, they'll encroach on other spaces where they're not supposed to be. So what must the city do? Citations are one thing, but the only thing, as long as they are all done within the bylaws, if it means the law says they must impound the vehicle, they will. And you should know better not to park there. You should know better not to operate a public transport vehicle without a PDP license. You should know better not to drive a car that is unroadworthy, and commuters just get exposed to the kind of potential accidents that could emanate out of that. That is the middle ground, making sure that they get to appreciate that South Africa is a country, we aspire to be a country governed by a rule of law, not a rule of fear and anarchy that we saw in Cape Town and anywhere else.
Tebogo, thank you so much for your commentary this afternoon, and I'm going to release you now to go start your weekend. That was Tebogo Khaas, political and social commentator here on Today. We move